Richard Rothschild is a county commissioner in Carroll County, Maryland. Carroll County commissioners were the first local government committed to getting rid of the United Nations Agenda 21 Sustainable Development Program for local governments known as ICLEI, or the International Council for Local Environmental Initiatives. Here is our interview with Mr. Rothschild. And the first question we asked him was if he was related to the Rothschild family banking dynasty.
Well, to the best of my knowledge, I'm not related to the Rothschild family, but I certainly would not turn down an inheritance check if it came to me. Hello, everybody. I'm Commissioner Richard Rothschild from Carroll County, Maryland.
How did you find out about ICLEI?
Well, I found out about ICLEI indirectly. I got a call from my daughter, and she said, "Dad, you have to see this master plan." And I looked at the master plan and realized it was an attack on everything I've taken for granted as a middle-class American. So I started going to public hearings and going to Tea Party meetings. And I was told to look at Agenda 21, and of course that led me to ICLEI. And as I researched it on the internet, I realized that the boot print of Agenda 21 and ICLEI were all throughout our master plan within Carroll County, Maryland.
So what did you do about it?
Well, it was a triumph of insanity over good judgment. I started going to the public hearings. I started speaking up and speaking out, and before I knew it, I had people among the citizenry who encouraged me to run for office. So I ran for office. Of course, I booked a vacation during the general election because I was sure I would never make it past the five-way primary. But ultimately, I won the primary and had to cancel my vacation. And of course, my wife was a trooper about it, though. Well, when I got into office, the first thing we did was we made it clear that we were rejecting the master plan because we believed that it had impingements on our citizens' constitutional property rights as described in the Fifth Amendment of the United States Constitution. And we unanimously passed the motion to withdraw from the ICLEI. We became the first county in the United States to terminate membership. Well, I want to make it clear that kicking ICLEI out is only the beginning of the fight. ICLEI promulgates this United Nations planning agenda, which is absolutely incompatible with Americans' constitutional rights. But make no mistake, there are other state agencies that are infected with this doctrine. And although we at the county level have terminated our involvement with ICLEI, much of the dogma which is being promulgated by ICLEI is alive and well in organizations at the state level. And therefore, the fight is just beginning. The soft underbelly of our citizens' freedoms is the municipal master plan. It is a plan for the growth and development of our county. And the original draft version of our master plan had egregious constitutional violations, in my judgment. Mass downzoning of farmers, rezoning of residential and agricultural land against the wishes of their owners. It assumes lifestyle preferences that are not necessarily valid assumptions and are an overreach. We live in a rural agricultural community, and smart growth by its nature assumes we're going to have compact urbanized cities or towns that are quote-unquote walkable, which promote community interaction with bicycle transportation. There's only one problem. One person's sugar is another man's poison. Some citizens would like that lifestyle, and they're certainly welcome to live that way. They can move into the city, but for the citizens in my community, they moved to Carroll County to escape that kind of urbanized development, and that's exactly what our master plan would have brought to our community, a growth template which was the antithesis of what our citizens wanted.
What have been your most profound observations since taking office?
Well, two things, I would say, that have impacted me to the greatest extent. Number one, I realized that federal and state governments are using grants to exceed their powers beyond constitutional boundaries. Basically what they do is they say, if you want your tax money back in the form of grants, you're going to do exactly as we want. It's a form of coercion. And the second thing that's most troubling is that all of the processes of government are geared towards spending money. We go into these public hearings, and if you spend this or you spend that, you get money from the federal or state government. No one ever steps in front of the dais and says to us, "Mr. Commissioner, if you figure out a way to save money, you'll be rewarded." We are only rewarded for spending money, and that is why the budgeting processes and spending processes of governments at all levels have spun out of control. There's no incentive whatsoever in the processes to save money. If somebody takes issue with a public policy because they think it's unconstitutional or an overreach, you need to speak up and join that person. Don't be embarrassed. Speak up and speak out. Otherwise, it doesn't matter what you believe. You're simply irrelevant. I've been asked to talk a little bit about some of the threats I see facing our government at both the federal, state, and local level. And one of the most interesting things that's confronting us at this point in our country's evolution is the risk to our currency. Many public officials are worried that there could be a meltdown of the U.S. dollar, and if not a meltdown, certainly a massive devaluation. And if that happens, it could lead to social unrest. And one of the things that I think public officials need to start doing is putting contingency plans in place to prepare for this social chaos that could possibly occur, hopefully not, in the event of a devaluation of the U.S. dollar. And Carroll County have begun to open up dialogue with our emergency services people, our controller, about the possibility of investments that would be resistant to hyperinflation, and also the possibility of having emergency food stores and things like that to assist our citizens in the event of instability in the U.S. dollar.
Okay.
And finally, in closing, the one thing I'd like to add to everyone watching this is keep in mind the most misused term in America today is probably democracy. Our forefathers hated the idea of democracy. Democracy is a formula for tyranny where majorities can vote away the rights of minorities. And that's why in the United States Constitution we created the concept, our forefathers created the concept of the unalienable rights of life, liberty, and property ownership. And unalienable means the majority cannot take these rights away from the minority. They are assumed to be given to us by God. And it is government's job to protect those unalienable rights from tyranny. It is not government's role to mete out and reel in those rights. And the new sustainability movement that's come alive in America oversteps those unalienable rights of life, liberty, and property, and it presumes the government does have the right to reel those rights out and pull them in, and that is a formula for tyranny, that's a formula for abuse. And I want to add one other dimension to this. When politicians appoint panels, be they planning and zoning commissions, or citizens panels, or environmental affairs committees, when politicians appoint these committees with like-minded individuals, and then these like-minded individuals take a vote, that has the appearance of democracy. But if I appoint 7 like-minded individuals to a committee and they vote on your rights, and their political dispositions are all the same, that's a charade. That is nothing more than tyranny masquerading as democracy. So I want to encourage everyone watching this to make sure you make that distinction and understand that our rights are unalienable. They are given to us by God, and it is government's role to protect those unalienable rights, not take them away.
Please click on the link below for a short article updating Richard's progress.